Welcome to the MamasteFit podcast. This episode is going to be a highly anticipated episode with Roxanne's birth story of baby Harvey, who is here with us. So if you're watching the YouTube video, you get a little peek at him, even though you get a huge peek at him on Instagram and stuff as well. But we're really excited to share Roxanne's maybe final birth story. We'll see. Welcome to the MamasteFit podcast. My name is Gina. I'm a perinatal fitness trainer and birth doula.
And I'm Roxanne, a certified nurse midwife.
And this is the MamasteFit podcast, where we empower you on your pregnancy, birth, and postpartum journey.
Our podcast shares how to move throughout your pregnancy to stay strong and comfortable, because pain is not a requirement of pregnancy. Understand the science of birth and approach recovery after birth.
We share our personal experience navigating motherhood and our professional expertise as birth workers and fitness professionals.
Our goal is to help you feel confident as you navigate the perinatal timeframe for an empowering pregnancy, positive birth, and postpartum recovery.
We are glad to have you with us on this journey and that you have chosen us to support you. So welcome, Roxanne. Welcome back to work. Finally off maternity leave and ready to crush it with a fourth baby. So let's dive into how was the end of your pregnancy. So Harvey is I forget the term you like to use for him because accident was not the right term.
No.
The
bonus baby.
Bonus baby. Because with Joan, she was your planned last baby. You guys felt complete. You had totally processed that you were now in the child rearing phase of your life, no longer childbearing. And then Harvey decided that he would like to keep you in this chapter. But now you are maybe now done with this chapter. So how are you feeling in the last few weeks of your pregnancy with it being your bonus final pregnancy?
I mean, mentally it was hard, just when is labor going to start kind of thing. But other than this is the last time, I was very excited to not be pregnant again. But I was trying to enjoy the last few moments because it is still sad. I think anytime it's the final thing that you're going to do, the final year of high school and college, it's I'm never going to be in this stage of my life again. So it's still always sad. Because it's you'll never feel the little kicks in your belly, even though at the end of pregnancy, they are quite strong. You'll never get them again. So I was just enjoying the last moments that I could have with a baby in my belly, but also I was very ready for him to come out. And I think a lot of people asked me, and I think a lot of people even commented on social media and sent messages of stop sharing. You're getting this is why your labor's not starting. It's because you're just updating us and feeling you need to update us. But I think it was also it gave me something to do, because what else was I friggin' doing between 37 to 45 weeks? Nothing.
Yeah.
So had I not done that, I would have probably lost my mind. And so updating and being humorous about oh, is my baby gonna come today? Even though I knew he probably wasn't coming till closer to 40 weeks, it still made me not feel I was going crazy. Will that work for everybody? No, I don't think that works for everybody. But for me personally, I don't think that it prevented labor from starting, which a lot of people was once you stop posting, you'll have your baby.
Well, we also had the opposite where people were, when we were doing the 12 Days of Christmas, birth prep movements, which was really just humorous. We were just being
did I
silly.
think my baby was coming at 36 or 37 weeks? No.
And there was people commenting that were why do you want your baby to be born at 37 weeks? What's wrong with you? And so I think we get it from both ends, where people are why would you want to not be pregnant anymore? And then also why are you sharing so much of your life? Just focus on yourself. I was well, first of all, this is our platform. We can do whatever we want with it. And something that has been really powerful for us in the past 10 years of MamasteFit is being able to share these intimate parts of our motherhood journey and connect with other people in a similar phase, which has been
just keeps
super
putting
fun.
His face into the sling. I lift it up, and then he's just
right in the little nook. Roxanne is wearing a Hope and Plum ring sling. Their fabrics are really beautiful.
Yeah.
They sent her this one. There are really amazing baby wearing companies. So if you're looking for a baby sling or baby carrier, highly recommend.
I do really like this ring sling.
They're very beautiful. I also really like Sakura Bloom. I'm not wearing it right now, but
no, but they are sending me a ring sling from them as well. So I'm excited to try out all of the Bridget slings.
they're not sponsoring us or anything. We just really like their products and like sharing
If you're
about things
curious where those was from. Well, we can link it below.
Yeah.
Pain-wise, I felt pretty good. Like my pubic bone pain would come every once in a while, but most of the time it was just when I would wake up in the morning after sleeping in bed where I was like in a relaxed state. So like my muscles weren't on. So like when the first time like I actually had to use my muscles and stand up, my pelvis was like, what the F? I don't like this. But then it would like go away as soon as I would like walk to the bathroom. But I felt mentally ready for labor, as ready as you could always be for labor the fourth time. Home birth, very excited for it. We had all of our stuff ready for home birth, practice blowing up the pool. We did patch our pool and our pool, Gina's pool, like 3 times. We could not find the hole. Or like the patch job we did was not very good. It held up for the birth, but like that's what we were doing like multiple times.
The pool is like over 3 years old as well and has been borrowed by multiple people. Probably not stored very well in that.
But like
that
you think
3-year period.
like the whole like we could not find. We did like the soap, but it was like the smallest leak. So it would be full, and then like an hour later it was starting.
I think it was.
Thankfully, I had a fairly quick labor, spoiler alert, where it was still somewhat inflated. But by the end, I was like, we are about to lose water onto our floor if I lean onto
I remember
this too
you
hard.
texting me if it was okay to throw it away. And I was like, I think that's a sign that was the last baby.
Yeah.
MamasteFit baby. Nobody else needs to borrow this pool from us.
No. If there is another MamasteFit surprise baby, we'll just need to buy
buy a new pool.
You can get the nice white, aesthetically pleasing one.
Yeah. With the birth mantras written on the inside.
Yeah. We're not manifesting this though.
No.
But no, end of pregnancy, I honestly did feel really good until I hit 40 weeks. And like labor was, because I started having prodromal labor probably around 39 weeks, where like some days like they would come on pretty strong for a few hours and then just like disappear, fizzle away. Where I'm like, this feels kind of like the beginning parts of my labor, but like it just never continued through. Like a couple of nights I had to put the TENS unit on to be able to go back to sleep. And then I would put the TENS unit on and then I would wake up in the morning because they stopped. And I would always only need like the lowest setting on the TENS unit that I used. But I was like, what the heck? Like, just continue. What are you doing in there, baby? So I did continued to do our like birth prep circuit. I would hold the inversions for a little bit longer than the 3 breaths in hopes like, oh, maybe his like head is a little wonky. But I honestly think it was just my body was like, this is your 4th baby and I'm annoyed. I'm preparing, but like, I'm not ready yet.
I'll do whatever I want.
Yeah.
So I was also getting ready to leave.
Yes. And so that's when at 40 weeks, that's when I think mentally I was like, Gina leaves soon. Like, in like a few days. And things are not happening. What the heck?
On. So the stress wasn't from social media. It was from Gina.
Yeah.
Departing. So a little background, because we did get one really angry email from somebody. Anyways, we had the Disney Marathon weekend trip planned last March.
Yeah, you have to sign up for these Disney marathons.
So almost a full year in advance. And it was the January, I think, 8th through the 11th or 10th or something like that were the races. So there's a 5, 10, half, and a full. We also signed up our 2 employees for the half or for the 10K. So we were going to be going and meeting them. They were going to meet us there. We were essentially paying for a family vacation for the 2 of them to include their hotel, their registrations, and all that. And so I needed to be there because this was also their family vacations. If it was just Roxanne and I doing the marathon, we would have just got you get 50% off, or you get a 50% refund for a gift card if you back out of your registration. We would have totally just done that because our dad was like, why is Gina going to Disney World? Roxanne's like due any moment now.
Yeah, but
like,
we signed up in March, and then I found out I was pregnant in May. So like,
and it just happened to be this weekend that
literally
she was due.
The weekend of.
So we were really hoping that Roxanne would go before I left because historically she doesn't go past her due date. And then we were hoping that she would stay pregnant until I got back. And I did actually shorten my trip by several days to get back sooner. And I even shortened it on the front end to leave later so that I can try to get it. And spoiler, I did not get it. But I couldn't just cancel the trip because we literally had 2 families that needed me to be there so I could pay for their rooms and all their stuff. So there was more than just Gina that was being impacted. So I was leaving the next day. I think this was the 8th I was going to leave.
Yes.
In the morning.
So
and
January
on the
7th
7th
was my due date.
Roxanne texts me. She's like, I think I'm having contractions. And I'm like, we are going to do all of the things to make this happen. And so I like quickly get ready and I run over to Roxanne's house. I'm like, let's go for a walk. Let's do some breast pumping. We'll have Casey come over, do all the needles. And we're just trying to get this to progress.
Yeah. And it did not. I will say, like, when I woke up, the contractions were very similar to what I would experience in my early labors in all of my previous births, where I woke up and they woke me up. And like they were like between 3 to like 9-ish minutes apart, feeling it mostly in my back and then like starting to wrap around into my belly. So that sensation was the exact same. And I was like, okay, this is the most promising. Like the other days it was mostly just in my back, and now it was like in my back and my belly. And some of them I was like, oh, I needed to breathe through like that one, but like it just never seemed to progress throughout the day. And I think we went on like multiple walks, and like some of the walks made them more intense. But I don't know if it was also just like my muscles were getting tired. Whatever was happening. I think deep down I knew it wasn't, like after a few hours I was like, it doesn't seem to be like today is the day. But I wanted it to be the day because Gina left literally the next day at 4 a.m.
So rude. So rude.
So yeah.
So I thought Roxanne was kind of progressing. Like, and I think I was also like, for sure, this is it. This is it.
We were really trying to will it into existence.
We were trying to manifest it as hard as we could.
We were really trying to manifest it.
And so from my perspective, I was like, okay, she seems like they're a little bit closer together. And historically, we transition very quickly from early to active labor. Like when that transition happens, it's pretty quick, and we're usually pushing like shortly after that. And so my initial thought was like, okay, her midwife is like 2 hours away, and she's got like appointments and stuff she's thinking about. And so we need to figure out when should she come to where it's enough time for her to come and get settled and for Roxanne to feel comfortable, but also not so early that she's just like hanging out with us. But also, if you're like me, you don't totally like settle into it until like your team is there.
Yeah.
And so I was communicating with the midwife, trying to figure out like when should she come. And it seemed like you were more labor than you were earlier, but like not really like shifting into a point where you needed support. And so I was like, well, the contractions are definitely closer and they seem stronger, but she doesn't need support yet. However, usually she shifts pretty quickly and she's still very talkative, even into the later parts of labor. And I don't want you to not be here if it shifts very fast too. So I had her come, and then her assistant came, and the birth photographer came. And then everyone like hung out in the room and was just like chatting. And I was finding myself get like really frustrated because I was like, if Roxanne has any chance to like be in labor, she's not going to sink into it because like everyone's having like a really loud conversation about things unrelated. And so I was getting like really frustrated. And at one point I think about like 2 hours into it, it's probably like close to like 5 or 6 p.m. And I was like, I have to leave for my flight in like 7 hours. And she has not shifted into active labor yet. And usually it's like 3 to 4 hours from when we shift. And I'm like, we gotta fucking do something. Like, oh my God. So I realized that the room was probably not an environment that was gonna let you go into labor if you were heading in that direction. And so I asked if you wanted to go into the shower or like go for a walk to like give you an opportunity to like be solo to see if that helps you kind of sink into it. So yeah, so I think that's where you can continue. Sorry.
Yeah, so then we did go for a walk. Prior to, I think my midwife had offered like to check me and then like strip my membranes. And I was like, well, let me go for a walk first to see if that like helps things. Because we had tried like nipple stimulation. I was eating and doing all the things, and it just never seemed to just like tip over the edge. So we went on a walk with everybody. I did not bring a jacket, and I had some regrets about that. It was a little cold out. Not used to my January labor. So Gina gave me your sweater. And then we went on a walk. I think it was like me, Gina, Adeline, I think came, Gina's daughter, and my daughter, and then my husband, obviously, needed. And then I think we got back to my house, and me and my husband just went on another walk while they went back inside. And on the walk, I remember him saying to him that I was like, I just feel like it's not shifting and like it's not going to happen. And he's like, well, you know, it could happen because he like is encouraging me and wants to be nice. But I was just like, I don't think it's going to happen tonight. And I'm really nervous about that.
So you came back.
So
and you were not in more labor yet.
No, the contractions, like when we would go on walks previously, they would pick up. But it did not really pick up on this walk. And I think that was like telling, like in the back of my head, I was like, it's not happening. But I, again, still had hope that maybe fourth baby, like maybe things are just like
we're gonna manifest
chilling, or maybe I'm just like walking around 5 centimeters in like prodromal labor, and like you just break my bag of water and a baby will just pop out. So when we got back, I was like, we could just see what's happening, and then strip membranes if like things are happening and like baby's gonna happen sooner. Like maybe that'll like help push things along. So we did have my midwife check my cervix, and then she did strip my membranes. And then afterwards, because I didn't want to know to like mess with me, but like in hindsight, maybe I would have not being knowing what it was would have changed my plans. Because afterwards she was like, okay, we have to have a conversation based off of what your cervix was. She's like, you were 1 centimeter and super thick. So like not very much effaced. And then obviously that's when I was like, okay, Gina's not going to be at my birth because like it's not happening. Like I'm not going from one super thick cervix to a baby.
I mean, you never know.
Before 4 a.m.
With no contractions anymore.
Yeah. So like, and then I think that obviously like stopped my entire labor because I was so stressed that Gina was going to leave. So nothing progressed after that really for the rest of the night. I was still having contractions, but like not really. And me and my daughter just sobbed in our tub after everybody left. But
after we sobbed.
Yeah. So 130%, super upset, instantly cried. Because I knew like nothing's going to happen. And had I known that I was 130, I probably would not have had my membrane stripped because like it, in that moment, it didn't mean anything. Like it wasn't going to help progress my labor, but I mean, can't take it back.
Not that it's about me. I was like pretty frustrated by it because for me, I was like, any chance that Roxanne had to like not have this baby while I was gone. Like I know. Like for me, I was like, she's gonna have her baby tomorrow now because you stripped her and she's past 40 weeks, and like you knew that there was new information that may have changed her mind, and you still did the sweep instead of like pausing and asking. But it was like, anyways, I was like, I think I was more frustrated in that moment because I was like,
yeah,
if this could have been the thing that made you go into labor the next day as opposed to like maybe waiting until Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I mean, not that I think it caused anything.
But like in the moment.
But in the moment, I was just like, oh my God, why did you do that?
If I have my baby, I guess that helps. Because the next day I did like lose like a huge amount of mucus. And I was like, well, hopefully I don't have a baby today. But I did not give birth the next day or the next day. So it was
or the next
fine.
day.
But it was, I was like, man, yeah. So January 7th did not happen. Labor did not go. And I think I knew probably earlier in the day that it wasn't happening, but I was, again, still in denial.
We were manifesting. I think we both knew it wasn't happening.
And I think I was stressing about probably around noon when things didn't shift. I was like, oh no, I need to do something.
As it was getting later and later.
This baby is not coming out. Because I didn't want to like force it.
Yeah.
Because I like them to come on their own time. But like,
come on, guys.
Could he also come at the same time Gina's home? That would be really appreciated.
So I'm in Disney hanging out with Mickey Mouse, and Roxanne is still very pregnant. I do the half marathon, and then I do the full marathon, which was Sunday. And Roxanne does updates the whole morning.
I know, I stayed up.
And
we
were like,
for a few miles.
Well, no one got an update from like mile 10 to 13
because I was happy.
The race does start at like 3 a.m. or something, or 4:30.
Oh my God, I think I also missed like mile like 21 to 23 or something. I was like, oh gosh, I woke up
Did
to like,
you finish?
I was like, I woke up to like 6 text messages. I was like, oh my gosh, I have not
so if you want
done
the
anything.
If you want the marathon recap, I did a whole episode on the Goofy Challenge. So Roxanne did updates the whole race. And after the race, I think we both were just like, I'm going to make it. You're still pregnant.
And like nothing was happening.
I'm flying back Monday night. It's going to be awesome. In hindsight, I should have just suffered and flew back Sunday night. But I knew how I felt after my last marathon, and driving home that night was awful. And so I was like, oh my God, I'm just going to be in so much pain. And in hindsight, I would have been really uncomfortable because I pretty much like slept most of the day on Sunday and did like my leg compression thing. Like, so I would have been pretty miserable, but I would have been miserable for you.
Yeah.
Had I known. So poor planning. I should have not flown back Monday night. And before we even left, I was like, Roxanne, I'm going to change my flight because I was supposed to come back Thursday, I think,
originally,
or Wednesday or something like that. I was going to come back later to give my kids a full week, but no one else was going to be there with me. Like, it was just going to be Gina fending for herself with her 4 kids, which would have been fine. Like, they're all like great travelers. We just wouldn't have been able to do like any like roller coasters and stuff. We would have just focused on shows and characters. So I was like, okay, it's Roxanne, it's fine. I'm going to change my flight. I'm going to come back Monday night so that I have time to recover Sunday. And it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And I was like, but you know, as soon as I change my flight, this dude's going to come back Monday morning. And I also did go into ChatGPT and I was like, star chart, you lied.
Star chart
you told us
was a liar.
that this baby was going to be born between the 3rd and the 5th. And it was like, oh, my mistake. The baby's going to come on the 10th. And I was like, shut up. It is not coming the 10th. how dare you say that? I'm
Yeah,
not
I mean,
going to
he
be here.
didn't.
And I was like, what's the likelihood of this baby coming on the 12th? Or whatever the Tuesday, I can't remember what the date was.
13th.
The 13th. It was like, the 13th has to be the date. Because it was, the ChatGPT said Sunday. The day of the marathon was when when he was going to be born.
But he didn't come.
I mean, he came close enough. And I was like, no. And there was like, she has a 10% chance of going past it. And I was like, liar. Get out of here. Liar. You already lied. And I think I told you and you were like, well, it already was wrong. So
I don't trust ChatGPT.
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
So yeah, ChatGPT was kind of correct on the second one though, because we all went to sleep Sunday night and then
a baby was born. Yeah. So marathon on Sunday. I literally didn't move as well this was Wednesday, was prodromal labor all day. And then from the 8th until the 11th, I did not really move around my house other than my house. Like I think we went on like one family walk.
Because we did not want anything.
But I was like, I'm just going to lay here. Nobody touch me. Nobody look at me. Don't no joy.
Keep a high level of stress.
Yeah, like
bright lights.
My daughter she was trying to stress me out, like as like jokingly stress me out. 'Cause she's like, he has to wait till Emo comes back.
I did tell her, stress your mommy out until I get back. Yeah. Just lots of crying, big emotions.
No, not enough. So marathon was Sunday, Monday morning. So like after midnight at like 12:30ish, I texted Gina at like think at 12:50 because I woke up and I was like, did I just pee my bed? Did I just pee the bed? Because it was like a gush of fluid and I felt the bed. The bed was dry. It was just all in my underwear because I went to the bathroom and I was like, either my water just broke or I peed myself. And I have nitrazine paper because I am a midwife labor nurse. Of course, I have nitrazine paper at my house. This is how you can
explain what that is?
Nitrazine paper is how you can check to see if your water is broken because it would change the pH. It's like pH paper. So nitrazine paper would change colors if it is amniotic fluid versus if it's like any other fluid like pee. So I did that and it did not change the color normally it would change. So I was like, oh, I must have just peed myself, which is also great, I guess. And I didn't smell like what I would typically describe as amniotic fluid, but it also didn't smell entirely like pee. But I was like, well, we'll see. I do think in hindsight that our amniotic sac has two layers, the amnion and the chorion. And I think that it was the outer sac might have ruptured, and so like a little bit of fluid did come out because when we looked at my placenta afterwards, it did almost look like it was in two pieces, like two layers had like separated, which I thought was pretty cool when I looked at it. But that is my theory in hindsight. But in the moment, I was like, oh, I just peed myself, fingers crossed. But I did text Gina at 12:50. I either just peed myself or my water broke. Haha.
And Gina
you have to add haha to every text.
Gina did not read the message.
Gina did not see these messages. But then I went back to, like, I laid back in bed, changed my underwear, laid back in bed, and it was fine. And then, like, as soon as I laid in bed, I think it was maybe, like, 20 minutes later, I had a contraction, and I was like, huh, that didn't feel great. And then another one came, like, 5 minutes later, and then they just kept coming. And they, like, came fast, 5 to 7 minutes apart as soon as they started at 1:20. They were 5 to 7 minutes apart for, like, 30 minutes. And I was like, it's not great. But, I've been having prodromal labor for, like, freaking forever. They're going to go away. This is just labor. But I did text both Gina and our friend Brittany, who is going to be my backup doula and birth photographer. I've been contracting for the past 30 minutes for 5 to 7 minutes apart. Pretty strong, but I can still like breathe and talk through them. And then I think I also texted Gina, I don't think you're going to make it to the birth at like, I don't even remember what time.
I don't even know. I was still
Gina was asleep. I sent like 7 text messages to her, and she
I had been waking up at like 2 or 3 a.m. 2 days in a row prior to this for the races. And so I was just like dead.
Yeah.
I was not waking up to anything. Unfortunately, I'm so sad that I did not have my phone on noise.
At 2:12, I texted Gina, I don't think you're going to make it. They're not stopping. At this point, this is also, I was in my bed. My husband and I were in our bed. And our two youngest kids always, which they always do, had crawled into our bed at some point. So I was like, this is not a comfortable place, even if I'm not in labor, to be anymore, because I'm being kicked by my 2-year-old. So I moved to my son's bed. And he has these pads on his bed, so just in case he pees. So I was like, okay, well, if my water breaks, at least I'm on this pad, so it still works out. So I slept, quote unquote, in the bed for like 30 minutes, contemplating, should I call my midwife? Because this has now been an hour that they've been consistently 5 to 7 minutes apart. When I would get up and walk around, they would increase to like 2 to 3 minutes apart. Yet needing to like focus on that, but like I don't know if it's just my personality, but like I can easily distract myself by just like talking or not needing to do things still in that early or even into early active labor with contractions is what I've learned. But I was like, I also don't want to call, because this is now like the third or fourth time that I have texted her and was like, I think I'm having a contraction. And then it goes nowhere. And I was like, I don't want to wake her up at 2:30 in the freaking morning and then nothing happened. So I sat there for like 30 minutes and I was like, they're not getting better, but they're not terrible yet. But she also still has an hour drive to my house. And then this is also when I Expedia.com'd flights from Orlando to Raleigh to be like, is there a middle of the night flight that I could call Gina to tell her to take immediately and her husband can take care of her children for her to come back now? No, the earliest flight on Expedia was at 5 a.m. and it would have her arriving at 7. And I was like, but surely this is not real labor.
I could have made it, Roxanne.
No, you wouldn't have made it. You still wouldn't have made it. And I think that also made me feel better.
If you knew I was almost there, you would have held off. I think the only thing that I could have done is if you called me at midnight and was like, I think my water just broke. The only thing that I could have done to have made it would have been to immediately find a rental car and drive or steal a car.
It would not have made it though.
I could have took a lift.
We still wouldn't have made it.
Well, so
it's like 9 hours.
If you knew that I was almost there, you maybe would have.
Maybe.
I don't know. Probably not. I would have missed it.
Harvey had a lot of say in this birth.
That's the only thing that I could have thought. I was like, if I jumped in a car right away,
yeah,
I could have probably not. I would have been pissed. I would have been like in Savannah and you're like, my baby's born. I'm like, turn this bitch around.
I know. Yeah. So for 30 minutes, I contemplated calling my midwife, Expedia.com, and looking up every airline to see if there's any possible way. I was even like, man, if only someone had a private jet could just fly Gina to Moore County Airport.
I mean, we probably could have put a blast out to Instagram and somebody might have had one.
But yeah, then this 30 minutes of like not reasonable like decision making, like not in my full cognitive function of like what spiraling about being in early active labor by myself without my sister. I was like, oh no. But then I didn't want to wake Gina up at 2:30 in the morning to be like, I might be in labor. Sorry everybody for the panic. But spoiler alert, I should have done that. Hindsight is 2020.
I'll forgive you one day.
I did finally call my midwife after those 30 minutes and was like, I think I'm in labor. I've been contracting for now an hour and a half. 5 to 7 minutes. They get us close to 2 to 3 minutes. And then I think I had one on the phone. And she like had asked me a question right before, and I was like, hold on. I cannot answer that because I don't know what you just said. And she's like, did you just have one? I was like, yeah. And she's like, okay, well, do you want us to come now? Or do you want to like give it a little bit of time? And I was like, I don't think you should come now. And she said, okay, well, call me back in an hour or sooner and we can make a game plan then. And I was like, okay. And so she just waited by the phone, and I went into our bedroom and tried to wake up my husband, who was like the heaviest sleeper possible. It is a poor survival coping mechanism. We need to work on it. He did not wake up. I was shaking him so hard. I should have slapped him. But then I moved our 2 kids to my son's bed, and then I think I texted my mom and was like, I'm having contractions. And then like 20 minutes later, she responded, how far apart? And I was like, 5 to 7 minutes. She's like, I'm on my way. But we had like this deadbolt that my husband had installed on our door that like, you will never break into my home.
Well, good news, because he's passed out and he's a deep sleeper. He ain't going to respond to no burglary.
Exactly. That's why he installed it. But then my mom was trying to get into our house as I have shifted. I was like, I cannot walk to that door. I need you to go let my mom in right now because I'm not moving from this position that I've acquired. Because during the texting, I was still like in between contractions, but of course my mom got there like in the middle of one. So he went. I still had my TENS unit on. I had put it on like as soon as I started feeling contractions. And then at this point, I'm in the bed in like puppy pose because it was the only position that felt nice on my back. And he goes, lets my mom in. She comes and starts giving me her fabulous Mama Kim massages. They're just like super firm. And she just like knows where on your body to massage. So she's like giving my back a massage.
She's like, it's not easy being a mother.
No, she's so encouraging with her mantras. It's so hard to have a baby.
Mom, we do so much to sacrifice.
So then I was there for like another 30 minutes with my mom and my husband helping me through the contractions. And then my mom was like, did you call your midwife? I was like, I'm going to call her now. Because I think shortly before my mom had got there, I had never had this urge really with any of my other births, like with contractions, but like I had the strong urge that I needed to vocalize with contractions. Like I've never needed to do that really with my other ones. Like just breathing was fine, but this one I was just like, oh. I like that was the only way I could make it through the contractions was
because
like
you were
this,
progressing fast.
instinctive need to vocalize, and I was like, oh, that's new. I have not needed to do that before. So I did call Rose and was like, yes, please come.
Please come.
Please come. And she said, okay, we'll see you soon. And then I also called Brittany, which was hilarious to call Brittany because I was like, hi, Brittany, I'm in labor. I need you to come. And she goes, oh, no, Gina doesn't come. Gina's not here. Because she knew that's exactly what I thought as well. And I was like, no, she does not get here till tonight. I don't think she's going to make it. And she's like, oh, no, okay, I'll be there soon. I'm like, okay, thank you. So this was like 3:45 in the morning that I called everybody. So at this point, I then get up out of bed because I was like, I need to pee and like probably eat something. Because again, I've never had like a super quick labor. I think Colin was my quickest. And that one was from like start to finish, like 11 hours. But I had like a slow ramp up with him for like the first 5 hours wasn't bad. But then like the next 6 was fairly quick-ish, like quicker. But then, so I was like, I should probably eat something. So I got up, walked around a little bit, ate a banana and drank some like coconut water. I did start to have more, like the pain in my like lower abdomen was stronger. So I had my TENS unit on my back. I had gotten into the shower after I ate my banana and that helped a lot. My husband like poured the water on my back as I let the water hit the front part of my belly. But then when I got out, I didn't put the TENS unit back on because I put the heating pad on. And at first we had the Pixie cup, like abdomen heater, but I could not figure out how to turn it on. And I had been trying to figure it out for like weeks now. You just had to hold the power button down. I just kept like pressing it. And I was like, why is this never getting hot? I don't understand. And then like in the moment of labor, I finally figured it out. But this was after like probably like 30 minutes of trying. So I had just tied a heating blanket with a rebozo scarf to my lower belly while I was trying to figure out this heating pad. As Brittany was watching me, wondering what the hell I was doing, because she's like, what even is that thing you're playing with? And then I figured out, I was like, oh, what if I just hold it down? And then it finally clicked. I was like, had Gina been here, she would just know how to do this, but I don't know how to turn this stupid thing on. So then I switched to that thing, and then Brittany was like, oh, I could have totally helped you with that, but I didn't know what that was. And that thing was a lot nicer than the big wrap that I had used because it was way less fabric. And it also got way hotter.
It also like contours to the belly.
Yeah, which I mean, the other thing did, but like it still like hung off a little bit.
Yeah.
It was like a larger surface area when I really just needed it on the lower belly. But it did get a lot hotter. So I did have to take it off. Like I did take it off at one point and then put it back on once my belly cooled down. So did really like it.
There is a way to adjust the heat
done
setting.
There
too.
is.
But again,
you
just
there.
learned how to turn it on. So.
I just, yeah. Didn't have a lot of time to play with it. And I did like it because I could have turned it towards my back if I wanted to, and it would have still been comfortable. And at one point I was like, oh, maybe I would turn it to my back. But then I was like, why don't I just get in the shower at this point? So I used that for a while, leaning over the birth ball. At some point, Joan woke up during this, like, because Brittany arrived at the house at like 4:15ish, and I think Joan woke up a little bit after that. And she was so sweet. Patrick was trying to get her to go back to sleep, but she's like, nah, I'm awake. She went to bed at like 5:30 the night before because she was so exhausted. So I was like, well, you know, it's fine. She's totally fine. She wasn't like bothering me in any sort of way. She actually like was so sweet because I was obviously like vocalizing with the contractions. So she would come over and give me a hug. She gave me water at one point, but like out of her sippy cup that is like so hard to drink from because they're like so suctioned so that you don't spill it everywhere. I was like, thank you. That's so sweet. She's like giving me a hugs and stuff. But I think the midwife, my midwife and her birth assistant arrived probably like 5:20, 5:30 in the morning. And that's when my mom just called my dad to come pick Joan up because my parents live 3 doors down from us. So he just walked up the street, grabbed Joan and took her to his house thinking that it'd be a couple of hours. So he's like, yeah, we were just hanging out. And she's like just opened ice cream. So she was just having a great time at my parents' house at that point, which again, she would have been fine like at the birth, I think. But my husband just preferred her to not be there so he could focus. So 5:30 they arrived, and at this point I had used like my TENS unit, the heating pad, and I was using my acupuncture balls and still like able to talk in between contractions. But during them still needing to vocalize during the contractions to kind of like get through them. They like listened to baby, did my vital signs, everything looked great. So we like talked a little bit, and then I was like, I think I want to get into the shower because I think we had just filled up the tub, so they were gonna like heat the water up a little bit because my water heater is not great for tubs. It does not. It's not very. It's like a lukewarm bath. Like not even body temperature bath, like not comfortable. So I needed to heat the water up. So I was like, I'll just get into the shower while that does that stuff. Shower was great. My husband, again, held the water on my lower belly as I did the water on my back. Needing to like lean over more during the contractions, moving, doing the labory thing. I think he we lit all the candles finally at this point because I had forgot to do all those things. And then I also realized while I was in the shower that I was still wearing my bracelet from my mother's blessing. And I was like, no one will know to cut it. I will have no vibes. My mom's had fallen off at one point. This was also my third rendition of the bracelet because mine also fell off like during
That's
the
why,
weeks.
Roxanne.
So
Mine had fallen off like 3 times too, but I would just keep tying it back.
yeah, I know it was not good string that we used for that one, but I normally like we would text the group. I'll be like, oh, they're in labor. Let's cut our bracelets. No, that was not happening for me. I was not texting anyone. So when I got out of the shower, when the tub was warmed up, I got into the tub. This was like around 6 a.m. So from the time of arrival from my midwives to the time that I got into the tub was like 30 minutes. And then while I was in the tub is when I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to cut my bracelet. So like my husband found scissors and cut my bracelet at some point while I was in the tub. And I just like moved into different positions while I was in the tub. I did really enjoy, it's my number one recommendation, but like no one wants to do it other than like me in labor, I'm noticing, until I like recommend it to people who seem like they want to do it but don't know how to do it, is the mermaid pose where you put your feet out behind you and you literally look like a little mermaid.
Your belly is down towards the bottom of the pool.
Yeah, so it's like your belly is face down. Usually the arms are leaning over the pool. I couldn't do that because my pool is deflating. So I just held myself up. And it's almost like upward facing dog, but then your feet kick up.
Yeah, so it's like a big hip
you.
flexor, front body stretch.
It's kind of, what is that? It's mermaid in the yoga pose, but you're not trying to touch your head to your toes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know if that's mermaid. I might have made that up, but whatever.
It's
you
like
look
camel.
like a mermaid.
It's more like camel.
Yeah, camel, but you're not reaching back to grab your feet.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that general position. But then instead of doing it on both legs, after it did that for a few contractions, I then brought my foot, and it was almost like pigeon then in a way, but one foot was back in like a half mermaid and the front leg was forward in like a lunge / pigeon type thing. And that was super comfortable. And I did that on both sides. And I was like, asymmetry, love it. But when I recommend it to people, they're like, oh, this does feel really nice. But I would not have gone into this without your recommendation. I'm like, maybe it's just me.
Well, I don't think it's a labor position that people are like aware of.
Yeah, but it was really comfortable. Brittany took a picture of it and I was like, good, in my head, because I stopped talking at some point. I think I was still talking, but like with my eyes closed. I was like present, but not really present. I don't remember saying things from like 5:30 on. My eyes were, and even in like the pictures that I look at, all of the pictures, my eyes are just closed.
Pretty standard.
Because that's what happens in active labor. But I was like, there's no way. Like, I still have so much time. Like, there's no way labor is close. Like, baby still has so much time. Like, I could potentially still be here when Gina gets here tomorrow at 1 a.m. No. But then in my mind, I was also like, also, fuck that. That's like a really long time to be into labor. Sorry, Gina, you're going to miss it. But so this is like 6 a.m. I'm in the tub. I think around like 6:40, because it's, nothing exciting happens. We drink water while I was in the tub, change a bunch of positions. We've like some people, like I made some comments. I think I was like, oh, I'm feeling it more in my butt. And like everyone was like, oh. My husband was just like, what? I did remember, like, one of the things that I really was, really not wanting, because I remember it from Joan's birth, was, like, everyone just staring at, like, my butthole. I was like, I don't want my butthole out to the world. So I was like, I love all of you people, and I trust everyone here, but, like, I don't want everyone staring at my butthole. And so at one point when I was in the tub, like, you could see my butt, and they were like, do you want us to cover your butt? I was like, no, my butt is fine. The butthole. Please. Don't.
My starfish.
Don't look at the starfish, okay? I don't want the starfish out.
Don't want any pictures of my starfish.
The cheeks are fine. So that like chuckled at that. But then I think it was like 6:45 maybe, or 6:50. Someone like Heather had checked the temperature of the water, and it was like 98, 99 degrees, which we want the water to be above 98, 99, or like no less than 98 to 99 degrees, because the baby has to come out into warm water. So they still think that they're in the womb when they come out. So anything below that potentially could potentially signal for them to breathe while they're still underwater. So they're like, okay, well, if we're going to be in here for any longer, like, we should probably think about rewarming the water. And in that moment, I was like, yeah, I can get out and we can warm with water. I can like walk around. Like, if we need to warm up the tub, like, I'll just get out in this moment. And it might have been a little bit earlier that this happened, this whatever time is made up. But in that moment, I was like, yeah, I could totally get out of this tub and like walk around. And then it was like 2 minutes later, my mom was asleep on the couch because, again, we don't have quick labor. So she's like, I have time to nap. She was asleep on the couch. So it was just my husband, Brittany, and the midwife and her assistant. And I was like, Patrick, my husband, I need you to go get my mom to massage my hips. And he goes, oh, okay. So she came in, massaged my hips. He went to go wake up our oldest. And during the next contraction, when my mom was massaging my hips, I was starting to feel more pressure, like, oh, this baby's like gonna come out. But I had no one to hold my hand. Because like, my husband doesn't necessarily always provide hip squeezes or massage my back during my labors. All I really want him to do is to hold my hand and like have something to like hold on to help keep me grounded, probably. And then he had left. So like, I was like, who the fuck's gonna hold my hand? So in that moment, my mom's massaging my hips and I opened my eyes because I was like, where is Patrick? Because I needed to reach for his hand. And he's like, oh, he's not here. And I was like, fuck. So I had nothing to grab onto. So I just was like reaching for air because I couldn't grab onto the top of the pool because I was like,
deflating.
I'm going to fucking burst this pool. So then I just struggled through that one because I was like, I don't know what to do. At one point, I must have been after that contraction, I reached and checked myself to see if like, this is all in my head.
Were you 1 centimeter?
Or if there was like a baby coming. And I checked and I did feel like the bag starting to like bulge. I wasn't like crazy, like there's only so much you could check when you're checking yourself. But I was like, okay, I feel a bag and a baby's head behind it. So one, it was a head. So great, not a butt. And I was like, okay, this is probably happening right now. And I'm not mentally ready. So I asked, I was like, Gina's not going to make it because like I'm about to push a baby out. I'm not mentally ready. Could someone call Gina? And I think my daughter must have like came in at this point and came and like sat by the pool, the head of the pool. And the midwife obviously had Gina's number from the last fake labor. Not fake labor, but fake out. And tried calling her. I don't remember how many times she called, but the first time she did not answer, and I was like, bitch.
I would
7 a.m., man.
pass
Wake
out.
up. And in that moment, when she didn't answer, in my head, I was like, maybe we should call her husband. But again, I'm like about to like push a baby out. I'm not saying my inside thoughts on the outside like I should have. But then I also cried. A quick tear because I was like, she's not going to be here, even virtually.
The worst. So you're having a good old dream.
Gina's just over here recovering from a half marathon combo. I know, Harvey.
How could she?
How could she? So that's like 6:59. I was like, okay, I guess I have to have a baby without her. Water broke like a couple minutes later, very quickly. They listened to his heartbeat. Sounded great. And then was like, oh, now I have to push a baby in now.
Yeah, that's how we feel about it too.
That's how I felt. Which is like, I think I was most nervous prior to the water breaking, because I was like, God, if I have to fucking push for 45 minutes, I'm gonna be so pissed. Like with Joan, like it was so long. I didn't want to push that long again. So I like needed to like mentally prepare. Like my body was like kind of pushing, but I was like, I'm not ready to like to really do it.
I don't want to do this for 45
minutes. But then my water broke, and I could feel with Colin, it was the same, where like I felt my water broke, and then I felt like the head come down. Whereas with Joan, like I felt my water didn't break probably until like 20 minutes into pushing, whereas this was like 2 minutes into pushing. The water broke, not even probably. I wasn't even probably bearing down very hard. Water broke, and then instantly felt his head like settle in, and also could feel it. And within one push, his head was like at the opening, not crowning yet, but like right there. And then
what I would have considered crowning.
What Gina would have considered crowning, which is like 2 centimeters of the head. And like I needed a second, because like crowning is always the worst part for me. Like it burns so bad for me. And I was like, I'm not ready for this. So I pushed it until I felt his head. And I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm done with that one.
I would like to opt out.
I'm done with that one. But then pushed him to the crown, and then till his head came out. But I was pushing like on my, like in a kneeling position. I had started out in hands and knees when my water broke, and then I stood up, I think, and like was like leaning backwards in like a kneeling position, with my husband kind of supporting me. But then once his head came out, I was like, this isn't very relaxing, and might be weird to like push the body out with. And I was like, I'm not very comfortable like this. And so then my midwife helped me like kind of like sit back and like bring my feet out from under me, which made like the body portion a little bit more comfortable. And then I didn't have to move after his body came out and he was born, because I was already there. But head came out, and it was like not immediate that once his head came out, the shoulders came out. He did like take a little second to like turn, rotate until the next contraction came. And then his body came on out, pulled him up to my chest, and he was so cute. And my daughter was there. She does remind me every day that I was supposed to catch the baby, and you did let me catch Harvey. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. It was a very awkward moment. But he came out, and I cried again because Gina wasn't there. And also because he was so freaking adorable.
The worst.
And I did it, and he was amazing. And I didn't have to push for 45 minutes. And then in the video, I immediately go, as I'm looking at him and wiping his face, waiting for him to cry, oh my God, that sucked so much. Because my vagina was on fire. Because I hate the burning sensation. I still remember it. It still sticks with me. In my butt. It was all in my butt. And I was like, why does it always feel like the baby came out of your butthole? Super rude.
Pressure back there.
Yeah. And then he came out, and he looked like the perfect mixture of all of my 3 children. He did take a second to cry, but I didn't care because I was in my moment. It felt like 2 seconds, so it was like 45. But he came around, and he was like grimacing, which is very normal for water babies. For them to take a little bit longer to come around, to like cry. He was like grimacing, doing all the good things. Lily came over and was like patting him and touching his face, and she was so excited. She did tell me, or told Gina afterwards, that she was a little scared that something was happening to her mom. She's like, you were making a lot of weird sounds.
Yeah, I asked her, I'm like, how did you feel during it? Like, was it like, were you excited? Was it confusing? Like, and she was like, I was scared. She was making some weird noises. And I was like, Roxanne, you should talk to her about that.
Well, because I asked her afterwards, I was like, how are you? How was the birth? And she's like, it was so cool.
Yeah.
Girl.
No, girls over here like...
She did ask me, because I did have like my bloody show was underneath underneath me in the tub. And after, she's like, there was like red stuff in the tub. What was that? And I was like, what are you talking I don't know what you're talking about. So then we watched the video, she pointed it out. I was like, oh yeah, that's just like a little bit of blood. Like it's normal to have that when you have babies. She goes, oh, okay. So that was okay. And I was like, yeah, probably over here thinking I'm dying. I'm so sorry.
Better than
girl.
my last birth, where there's a picture of me like roaring and Sophie like, oh,
I know.
and like scared that I was hurt.
Yeah.
I was hurt.
Yeah. But we had asked my son prior to if he wanted to be there when his brother was born. And he said, no. He's like, I'll come after.
Yeah. Owen
So we're
was
like,
very...
okay. So we did not wake Colin up. We woke Lily up. And they like both popped right up though. Like Lily popped right up, or my husband said, and she's like, Harvey's coming. Ran into the room, ready. Her hair was still disheveled in the photos because she had literally just woke up. And then when my husband woke Colin up to be like, Harvey's here, and he ran into the room. Like he also popped up, ran into the room. Like he could, like you could clearly see he just woke up in the photos, but he's so happy that his brother is finally here. And I think that was probably my favorite moment of home birth, was like them two, and even like my younger one, meeting them like so soon after while I'm still in like immediate birth bliss with my oxytocin high. It was just added to the oxytocin high. I don't think I have even like delivered the placenta at this point when Colin came in, and we're just like loving on him and petting him. I did get Pitocin before the placenta came out because I do obviously bleed a lot normally. So I got the Pitocin shortly after he was born, but then my placenta still didn't come. Like I could feel it there. Like my butt was more uncomfortable, and I was like, oh, like it needs to come out, but like wasn't. So Rose tried to tug on it while I pushed and like just couldn't get a good grip on it. So then I actually delivered my own placenta partially. So I tugged on it while I pushed, and it like came out, and then Rose put it in the little bucket. And then at that point, Joan came in to like meet her baby brother. My dad was like, we had just opened an ice cream. She was mid ice cream, Mickey Mouse ice cream.
Throw that.
We had to quickly abort ice cream and run down the street. But she was also so excited when she saw them. She's like, that's my baby brother. She also says Harvey with a very thick accent, Harvey. But she was super, super excited. And then at this moment is when we got out of the tub. Finally. So I was in the tub for like 14 minutes until after birth. So some people think you have to get out immediately. You don't have to. You can take your time. It's a lot to get out of a tub after pushing a baby out. And then we were there for like, my midwife and birth photographer were there for like 2 more hours, and then they left us to just bond and wait for Gina to arrive.
Well, I had the best day ever.
Yeah.
In Disney World.
Yeah.
I got myself a premium pass so I can go on every ride to wallow in my sorrows.
I know.
I was like, when I woke up, because Mom had called me at like 8, and I was like, I had just woken up and was like processing like what was happening.
I know.
And I was like, I think Roxanne had our baby. And then my mom's like, and I'm like, please stop. What is happening? She's like, you didn't see the text messages? No, I didn't see the text messages. I just woke up. Why are you still sleeping? What do you mean?
Gina normally wakes up at like 7 a.m.
I normally do when I haven't woken up at 2 a.m. the past 2 days. So I was a little sleepy. My huge regrets, obviously. I wish I put my phone on noise.
I know.
I think I had just like convinced myself that you were going to wait until Tuesday. Like, I was like, oh, we made it for the marathon.
Yeah.
We're good. We're going to have a great last day. We're going to fly home, and Roxanne's going to wake up in labor on Tuesday, and it's going to be perfect. We've manifested this. And so when I woke up and I was like, oh, what the fuck? I like looked at all my children and I was like, we must have the best day ever. And we had a great time. I would have liked to be there, but we got to ride all the rides in Epcot and had something in Magic Kingdom, and then had a pretty smooth flight home. And I immediately ran over and said hello to Harvey.
Well, the next morning.
The next morning, yeah. Because I got back at like, I think like 1 a.m.
I mean, I was awake at 1 a.m. but
When I
my
texted
entire
you-
family
when I
was
texted
not
you,
awake.
You did not reply to me. But so I just tried to make it up to Roxanne on the postpartum, and we've done like 15 puzzles.
And she also went to Disney World.
I brought you a gift back.
It's fine. I was very supported in the postpartum. I had lots of delicious coffee and puzzles done every day. And this little man has been showered in love from his cousins and siblings. Every single person except for like obviously your youngest. Zoe
is like
don't
not
care about
concerned.
anybody.
She's not concerned at all.
Owen doesn't really.
Sophie and Joan are like
Owen not
we
about
must-
it at all.
He doesn't
either.
care. No.
Even though like this is his boy cousin.
Sophie
This is the
and
closest
Joan,
thing you're gonna
though,
get to a brother, man.
they are all about their baby Harvey.
Yes, they
And then
fight
Adeline
over
and Lily
Harvey.
Are also
Adeline
super
also-
into him. I would say
Every
of them all,
moment-
though, Joan and Sophie are like the most
Obsessed.
interested
Yeah.
in him.
Sophie will hold him for like a couple seconds and then she'd be like, okay, I'm all done now. Adeline will like actually, if she could just rip him out of my arms to hold
She would
him.
babysit him for you.
She would just hold him all day if I let her. And I'm like, but he's actually hungry,
She
so
was
please
really
give him
sad to
to
miss
me.
the birth because she's like, I think this will be the last birth I get to like witness before like either mine or my sister's.
I mean, she could come with me to births one day if she wants to.
If she wants.
But yeah, I would have liked her to be there as well.
I know, because she was like, I want to be there so I can help Lily know what to do. So I can guide Lily to help her
Yeah,
mommy.
maybe Lily wouldn't have been so scared.
Adeline would have been like, this is normal. My mom was louder.
Yeah. I did say fuck a lot, which is like my like coping word. And Lily afterwards was like, Mom, you said a lot of bad words. You were saying a lot of bad words. And I was like, yeah, Lily, it's not pain-free having a baby. So that is what Mommy says when I'm in pain. And she goes, okay. Can you say it in your face? I'm like, nope.
Not you.
Not you.
Well, I couldn't have asked for a smoother birth for you with no complications postpartum and smoother postpartum. So if that means that I had to miss the birth, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to tell myself. I had to miss it so that you didn't have to hemorrhage. I am the problem,
labor.
actually.
A precipitous labor with no hemorrhage. And that's because Gina wasn't there.
Just because I wasn't. That's what we're going to tell ourselves. That's what we're going to tell.
No, but I was.
It doesn't have to be a lesson that we needed to learn.
I was obviously devastated that Gina could not be there. I feel like I thought about it multiple times while I was in labor. Obviously, it didn't affect like
It
my
did not
labor in
affect
any
me
sort
at
of
all
way.
because I was asleep, apparently.
It didn't affect my labor progress in any sort of way.
I feel like I did have a really chaotic dream that night.
Well,
Harvey,
you should have woken up from
we
your
got
chaotic
beef, bro.
dream.
We got
Little-
some beef.
He smiled. He smiled. But yeah, obviously would have loved Gina to be there, but it was still a great birth experience. It was very quick, which is what I wanted. And I didn't push for very long, which was also what I wanted. I didn't tear.
You got all your...
I did not
got
hemorrhage.
your entire
I actually
Christmas list.
bled like less than I did in any birth that I had. When I went to the bathroom, I did not pass out, which I also did with my first and almost second, not my third. No, I did. I did after my third. So I didn't pass out, which was also a new experience. So like this whole experience was just a bunch of like personal bests. Longest pregnancy, quickest labor,
easiest postpartum.
no hemorrhage, and no passing out after going to the bathroom for the first time.
Good job, Roxanne.
Yeah. He was not my biggest baby, thankfully.
It's all right.
I'm okay with that. 713, which is like he could have picked the 13th to also be born, but we're not going to hold it against
We
him
won't hold it against him.
because he is super cute.
Well, we will do another episode all about Roxanne's postpartum recovery and what she's been doing to help support herself this first month. We just don't want this to be like a 2-hour long episode. hopefully those of you that are listening would want to listen to a 2-hour-long episode, but we're going to split it up so that we can have 2 weeks of episodes. But before we end this episode, Roxanne, can you share what your favorite pregnancy and labor items were? You kind of mentioned it throughout the episode, but we don't have any sponsors for our podcast anymore, so we're going to be telling you our fave products and then listing our affiliate links down below. So, Roxanne, what were your favorite kind of like end of pregnancy labor support items that you would recommend to our listeners?
So, end of pregnancy items that I really enjoyed were my Love Steady belly band. It's a Pro Bump or Bump Pro.
Pro Bump
band. That thing, I have a big belly. My abs must just be very weak. I carry my bellies forward. I don't know, but it was game changer. I think I started using it in my 3rd trimester pretty routinely, and it did help with my pubic bone pain, but it just made me like my belly
it's like a
just
sports
felt,
bra for your belly.
It just made my belly feel less
and
heavy.
we have a postpartum recovery bundle with Love Steady as well that has like a few fun items in it that we personally really like postpartum, and our discount code is MamasteFit for 10% off anything at Love Steady.
Yeah. So that thing was great end of pregnancy. I used my pregnancy pillow. We don't have a link for them, but this pregnancy pillow, it's like the brand is PFLUL or something. I don't know.
Pluffle.
It's a cooling pregnancy pillow, so it's like cool to the touch. So if you get really hot, it was really nice. But I've been loving that one for end of pregnancy, for sleeping support, along with like, I don't know, this wedge thing that I got. I don't remember where I got it from, on Amazon. And then postpartum, it's been a game changer because the pregnancy pillow actually fold under and become like a reclining chair support for postpartum, which pretty clutch.
You can't beat
so
that.
Like it's for pregnancy and postpartum. So it's a twofer.
My kids use my pregnancy pillow now as their sleeping nests in their bed because they like to snuggle, and so they snuggle in a pregnancy pillow.
Yeah. Those are probably the two things end of pregnancy, other than like Element, obviously. We love our
Element.
Electrolytes.
You
Element.
can get a free sample pack of Element from the link below. You have to use our link for us to get credit, though. So if you want to try out some salty electrolytes, highly recommend them. They also have sparkling that you can grab now. We like the skinny cans. The lemonade flavors are current. The pineapple lime is also very, very tasty.
But yeah, so during labor, my top 3 labor comfort supports that I utilized. Number 1, the Pixie heating pad.
That is pretty good. Our code for them is MamasteFit also for 15% off. I use all of their period products as well, like their period cup, the sterilizer. She's using the period underwear postpartum, which has been super nice. So highly recommend. And they have a really amazing mission too, where I think every cup that someone buys, they donate one to Girls in Need, which is, I think they've donated like over 300,000 cups, which is super cool.
Which super great. So heating pad. They also have like a microwave option one that has like a scent that was also really nice. My TENS unit that I used, so I used the L10s too, but like any TENS unit really, I mean, I used it also end of pregnancy, I forgot, prodromal labor, but also during labor, my definitely top 3. And then the other one was my acupressure balls. I really liked
Which
them.
you got on Amazon.
I got on Amazon. They're $9. They were like the perfect size. Apparently you can also get a bigger size, but I liked the small size because they fit in my hands. They were like just like spiky enough for distraction. And then I also liked rubbing them on my legs and on my back.
Did you try a massage gun during labor?
Not during labor. I did use the Theragun and the face massager during that prodromal labor when my back labor was actually pretty bad, and I would recommend that, but I didn't use it during labor. Just the labor.
Yeah.
Prodromal labor. So I can't say top 3 because I didn't really use it. but it would have been really nice on back labor.
So if you would like to support our podcast and you're interested in items to help support you during pregnancy and postpartum, we'll link them down below. Really, if you just put in code MamasteFit, it probably will give you some sort of discount.
Yeah, her Mama Stay.
Or Mama Stay 10, Mama Stay 15. So we'll link down everything in the notes below this episode in addition to our coupon codes. But that is how you can support our podcast because we no longer have any sponsors to it. We still do Love Needed. They just changed their budget, which is fine. But yeah, so thank you, Roxanne, for being here. For birthing another child.
Well, no.
So business expense. This is not a sustainable business model.
Don't recommend just continuing having kids.
Is this the final MamasteFit baby? We'll never know. We'll never know. It is probably the final baby.
Unless we can convince the yes as the answer.
We can convince our sister-in-law to join us and let us use a MamasteFit baby. She did have her first baby not too long ago. So her baby was supposed to get all the attention for the next year.
Sorry.
However, Harvey
brother.
came along. But thank you, Roxanne, for sharing your birth story with all of our listeners. And thank you all for listening to this episode. If you would like more support during your pregnancy, during your birth, postpartum, you can check out all of our online courses. We have online pre- and postnatal fitness courses, which is both self-paced workouts in addition to video-based workouts, depending on your workout preference. We have a childbirth education course. And if you're a professional and you're wanting to learn more with us, our new pelvic mechanics course is offered both in person with workshops every month or online if you can't travel to meet us. So check everything out on our website at mamastefit.com and use code STORY10 to get 10% off any of our online offerings.